Welcome to the Dip Dive. Today we're tackling a topic that's, well, often seen as daunting, but is absolutely critical for any organization, especially nonprofits: data compliance and cybersecurity. This deep dive is really all about protecting that vital information, particularly donor data, and doing it without completely breaking the bank. Okay, let's unpack this. The numbers, they really speak for themselves here. In 2023 alone, a striking 69 nonprofits had direct data breaches.
69, wow.
Yeah. And get this, over 1,300 were indirectly affected.
Mm.
That just highlights how immediate and relevant this is for any organization handling sensitive information, doesn't matter the size.
It truly does. And what's critical here, I think, is that nonprofits are facing this kind of perfect storm. Limited budgets, these rapidly evolving privacy laws, and just rising cybersecurity risks all around. Our mission with this deep dive is really to pull out the most important nuggets from our source material, help you understand these growing challenges, and maybe most importantly, discover practical, affordable strategies that actually work.
Right. And it's that intersection, isn't it? The growing risk and those limited resources. That's what makes this deep dive so crucial. We'll start by sort of mapping out the legal landscape, then explore the unique hurdles nonprofits face, and finally, try to equip you with concrete, budget-savvy methods for safeguarding donor info and, building that all-important trust. So let's jump right into the rapidly changing legal environment because it's moving, well, it feels like warp speed sometimes.
It really does.
We already have 13 states enforcing privacy laws, and 3 more are set to join by late 2025. That's Tennessee on July 1st, Minnesota on July 31st, and Maryland October 1st, 2025.
What's fascinating here is just how nuanced the whole landscape gets when you start looking at nonprofit exemptions.
Right. The exemptions, yeah.
They vary wildly by state. It's not straightforward at all. For example, California, Connecticut, Texas, they offer pretty broad exemptions for nonprofits.
Okay.
But then you look at states like Delaware and Oregon, and their exemptions are often limited to very specific things, like maybe just fundraising activities.
More specific.
Right. And then Colorado and New Jersey, pretty much no exemptions at all. And, the critical point is that these laws can have very specific thresholds. Sometimes it's even tied to how much revenue a nonprofit makes from, say, selling personal data.
Really?
Yeah, so it's absolutely crucial to check your local regulations. Don't assume anything.
Okay, that's a lot to navigate. What about specific data types? Like, say, an organization handles health information. Does that add another layer?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely adds complexity. If a nonprofit functions as, a health plan or maybe a healthcare clearinghouse or even a provider transmitting electronic health info,
Okay.
then IPA compliance becomes essential. That's the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act.
Right, HIPAA. Heard of that.
And it sets really strict rules for protecting sensitive patient data. It's a kind of a separate, pretty rigorous set of regulations you have to follow.
Gotcha. All right, so beyond the specific health cases, let's bring it back to what's probably the most common type of data for most nonprofits: donor information. Why is safeguarding that donor data so crucial, even beyond just the legal boxes you have to tick?
Well, ultimately, it just comes down to maintaining trust. That's the bedrock.
Trust, right.
The Nonprofit Technology Network puts it really clearly. They say, the first step in assessing your nonprofit's data risks is to take inventory of all the data your nonprofit collects and identify where it is stored. So protecting sensitive donor information, we're talking contact details, payment records, donation history, maybe even personal preferences.
Yeah.
That requires robust measures. Things like encryption.
Okay, encryption. What does that mean practically?
It's basically scrambling your data so only authorized people can read it.
Yeah.
You need it both when data is moving across the internet that's in transit and when it's just stored securely on a server, which is at rest.
Got it. In transit and at rest.
Exactly. And just as important is access control, making sure only the right personnel can actually view sensitive information, based on their specific roles in the organization.
Makes sense. So we've mapped out the landscape, why protecting data is so vital. But given all these pressures, it's easy to see how compliance might just fall by the wayside for some organizations. What's the real cost of not prioritizing this, beyond just like a theoretical fine somewhere down the line?
Oh, the costs are severe. We're talking serious financial penalties, potential legal battles, and maybe worst of all, profound reputational damage.
Right.
I mean, look, GDPR is European, but its fines up to $20 million or 4% of annual revenue. They set a stark precedent for the kind of penalties we might see under strong state laws here.
Wow, 4% is huge.
It is. And think about the British Airways case. Now, they're for-profit, but they got fined $20 million back in 2020 after a cyber attack exposed over 400,000 customers' data. For any organization, nonprofit or otherwise, losing public trust. Well, it's incredibly hard to rebuild.
Yeah, you can't easily put a price on that.
Exactly. And it's not just privacy laws either. The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, they can also take action, particularly if an organization kind of misrepresents how it uses health data. So all of this, it raises an important question. What are the core, day-to-day challenges that are actually preventing nonprofits from achieving compliance in the first place?
Yeah, what are those hurdles?
Well, the biggest hurdle, almost always, it comes down to budget and resource limitations.
Yeah, money.
Money, people, time. The financial pressures are just immense. In 2024, 61% of nonprofits didn't raise more money than the year before. And 76% saw no increase in their unrestricted revenue. That directly impacts their ability to invest in things like compliance tech or training. They often have to prioritize direct service delivery.
Understandable, but risky.
Very risky. Many simply lack dedicated IT staff or, compliance specialists, especially the smaller organizations. And it's not just about the money either. You look at data, like half of Florida's nonprofits are facing rising recurring costs, and 1 in 5 has fewer volunteers than they did back in 2019. It just strains their capacity across the board.
That paints a really clear picture of resource scarcity. But what about the types of data nonprofits handle? Does that add another layer of complexity on top of the resource challenge?
It absolutely does, yes. Nonprofits manage this incredibly wide range of sensitive data. You've got donor contributions, volunteer participation records, program outcomes, financial records, details about beneficiaries.
A lot of different pots.
Exactly. And each of these data types often has unique security requirements. Like we said, health records fall under IPADIA. Donor payment info has its own stringent protections, like PCI standards. The challenge is many nonprofits use fragmented systems. Multiple platforms for donations, maybe another for events, another for email, one for volunteers.
Right, cobbled together over time.
Precisely. And this creates what we call data silos. Information gets trapped in separate systems that don't easily talk to each other. And that leads to incomplete records, inconsistencies, and critically, it creates significant security vulnerabilities. Just trying to unify all that data for compliance becomes this enormous task.
And this brings up another really critical layer for nonprofits, their heavy reliance on volunteers and part-time staff. How does that unique dynamic complicate these data compliance efforts?
Oh, it's a significant factor, definitely. 2 in 5 nonprofits report being short on volunteers.
Wow, 2 in 5.
Yeah. And those who do help often lack, formal technical training. Unlike full-time employees, volunteers might be using their personal devices or working from unsecured locations like a coffee shop Wi-Fi.
Right.
That immediately creates potential vulnerabilities.
Right. Personal laptops, phones.
Exactly. Rick Cohen of the National Council of Nonprofits put it really well. He said, even the best privacy policies on the planet are useless unless everyone with access to the data both know and follow the policies.
Such a good point. It's about the people.
It is. And this is compounded by high volunteer turnover, which means you often need continuous, repetitive training just to keep everyone up to speed. Plus, you've got nearly a third of nonprofits seeking greater board engagement and many expecting leadership changes soon. So that institutional knowledge transfer about compliance, it can easily get disrupted.
Knowledge walking out the door.
Exactly. It's this constant effort to ensure everyone, from the board members right down to the short-term volunteers, is on the same page about data protection. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, how can nonprofits overcome these really deeply rooted challenges without needing a massive budget infusion?
That really is the fundamental question, isn't it? Okay, let's pivot now to actionable strategies. What are some of the most cost-effective ways for nonprofits to actually manage compliance and protect their data?
Okay, first, I think a critical insight is that many software tools are specifically designed for nonprofits. And often, they come with incredibly generous pricing or even free tiers.
So looking for those niche tools.
Exactly. The key isn't just finding a tool, but recognizing that these tailored, budget-friendly options exist. You don't have to go for the big, expensive corporate solutions necessarily. For instance, you've got all-in-one platforms like Help You Sponsor. It starts at like $39 a month. It even has a free option for smaller orgs. It helps centralize donor data, automate receipts, handles payments securely.
That sounds useful.
It is. For broader CRM needs, Salesforce famously provides 10 free licenses to qualifying nonprofits. HubSpot CRM has a pretty robust free basic version too.
Free is good.
Free is always good. And then there are open source solutions like Civic ERM, though that requires a bit more technical know-how to set up and manage. Some platforms even use usage-based pricing, like Giving Fuel or QGIV. There you largely pay per transaction rather than a fixed monthly fee, which can be great if donation volume fluctuates.
So lots of different models.
Lots of models. It's really about exploring these nonprofit-focused solutions rather than just defaulting to generic, potentially expensive ones.
That's a really powerful point, finding tools designed for your specific needs and budget reality. But what if a nonprofit is truly starting from like absolute zero budget-wise for these kinds of solutions? Is there still hope?
Definitely. Second, actively seeking out grants and discounts is absolutely crucial, and many nonprofits maybe don't realize the scale of what's available.
Okay, tell us more.
Major tech companies have significant philanthropic arms. Google's ad grants, for instance, has provided over $10 billion in free advertising over the years.
Billion, wow.
Yeah. Twilio's Impact Fund awarded $7.3 million just in 2023. Microsoft Azure offers $2,000 in annual cloud credits for nonprofits. Okta, for Good, provides both funding and donated technology licenses.
So real money and resources.
Absolutely. And TechSoup, that's a name everyone should know, is an invaluable centralized resource. They broker deals for deeply discounted hardware, software, and training specifically for nonprofits.
TechSoup, got it.
And don't overlook specific company discounts either. Platforms like JotForm for online forms or Buffer for social media scheduling, they offer straight 50% discounts for nonprofits.
50%, that's significant.
It really is. As one of our sources, Getting Attention, puts it, nonprofit technology grants provide essential funding, significantly enhancing their impact and efficiency. These opportunities are definitely out there if you know where to look and, frankly, put in the effort to apply.
That's a potential game changer for many organizations. Okay, so beyond buying tools, even discounted ones, what about building that in-house expertise?
Yep.
Avoiding the ongoing cost of consultants.
Right, the third key strategy, investing in training staff and volunteers. And this can be incredibly cost-effective, even free sometimes.
Free training? How?
There are excellent free cybersecurity training platforms available from reputable sources like NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, also Microsoft, and Cisco Networking Academy. They offer comprehensive online courses.
Okay, NIST, Microsoft, Cisco. Good to know.
To manage this training efficiently, especially with volunteers coming and going, learning management systems, or LMS, can be really helpful.
LMS, right.
And again, there are budget-friendly options. SC Training, which used to be EdApp, is free for up to 10 users. Docebo has a platform called OWL that's free for U.S. and Canadian nonprofits.
Wow, free LMS options too.
Yeah. And Moodle is another well-known free open-source LMS. Again, needs some tech expertise, but it supports unlimited users. The key with training, though, isn't just offering it. It's making it accessible, relevant, ideally mobile-friendly. You want to tailor it with scenarios based on real donor interactions, things people actually encounter, to make sure it's engaging and genuinely useful, not just a checkbox exercise.
Makes total sense. Okay, those are fantastic strategies for leveraging tools and resources. Now let's talk about the really foundational security steps, because this is a significant issue too, right? Something like 27% of nonprofits worldwide have reported cyber attacks.
That's right, 27%.
And 59% of large humanitarian organizations feel their IT security is severely underfunded. That just highlights how widespread this challenge is, even among bigger players. So what does this all mean? What are the fundamental, almost free steps that any organization can take, even if they're operating on a total shoestring budget?
Okay, first, and this sounds simple, but it's profoundly powerful, conducting regular data reviews.
Data reviews, like an audit?
Sort of, but less scary. You don't necessarily need fancy software. Start by creating a basic data inventory. Just figure out, what data are you actually storing? Donor info, volunteer info, program stuff. Where is it located? Is it in your donor management system, scattered in emails, maybe cloud storage, or even, old spreadsheets?
Right, finding where it all lives.
Exactly. And crucially, who has access to it? You'd probably be surprised where sensitive data can hide sometimes. Then, you assess things like outdated accounts, people who left but still have access, and check the current access levels. Is everyone's access still appropriate for their role? You can document your findings in just a simple spreadsheet. Flag concerns like, unencrypted files you find, or maybe shared passwords being used.
Okay, so documentation is key.
It is. And making it a recurring schedule, maybe quarterly for most things, perhaps monthly if you handle highly sensitive data. These regular, smaller reviews are often way more effective and less overwhelming than trying to do one massive annual audit.
That's practical. Okay, so once we know where the data is, how do we control who actually gets to see it?
Good question. Second step, setting up robust access controls and having clear policies.
Access controls.
This means enforcing strong password policies. You know, the drill: mix of characters, unique passwords for different systems. Don't reuse passwords. Free tools like Bitwarden can really help staff manage this complexity without resorting to sticky notes.
Right, password managers.
Yeah. Then, multi-factor authentication, MFA. This is huge for email, for your donor management system, for cloud storage. Enable it wherever you can. It's often free to turn on and adds such a vital layer of security. It makes it much harder for unauthorized users to get in, even if they somehow get a password.
MFA. Definitely crucial.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then, implement role-based access. This just means, like we said, a volunteer coordinator probably doesn't need to see detailed financial records, and vice versa. Many platforms, even the affordable ones like Help You Sponsor, allow you to set different permission levels for different users.
Tailoring access?
Precisely. And beyond the tech, establish clear, written data handling policies. Make them easily accessible to all staff and volunteers, put it in the handbook, talk about it in onboarding, and don't overlook physical security either. Simple things. Locking computer screens when you walk away, avoiding leaving sensitive documents exposed on desks, having clear rules for any areas where confidential information is handled.
Good point. The physical side matters too. Okay, what if, despite all these precautions, the worst happens, something does go wrong? What's the plan then?
Right, the what if. Third foundational step, creating incident response plans. This is absolutely essential, and you need to do it before something happens.
Okay, what goes into that?
First, identify a small core response team. Maybe it's the executive director, an IT-savvy volunteer or staff member, perhaps a designated board member. Clearly define who's responsible for what during a crisis. Then, develop step-by-step checklists for different scenarios. Like, what do we do if we suspect a data breach? What are the immediate actions? Disconnecting compromised systems, documenting everything that's happening. Who do we notify first? Law enforcement, our IT support, affected parties.
Having that playbook ready.
Exactly. You need to understand your legal obligations for data breaches too. Many states require notifications, sometimes within a very tight time frame, like 72 hours. You need to know that before it happens. And test your plan, at least annually, to a simple tabletop exercise. Walk through a scenario with the response team. Does the plan make sense? Are there gaps? And always, always keep contact information current for your key vendors, legal counsel, relevant authorities.
Testing it makes it real.
It does. As Nala Davies advised in one source, remember, sometimes a little common sense goes a lot further than the fanciest encryption out there. Having that plan and knowing how to use it is just common sense preparedness.
That's an incredibly practical and layered approach, showing you can do a lot even with limited resources. So we've touched on this whole landscape of low-cost compliance platforms and tools. How does a nonprofit actually go about choosing the right one for them from all these different options? It can feel overwhelming.
It definitely can feel overwhelming. I think the key is to focus on your core needs first. And don't get blinded by, a million features you might never actually use.
Focus on the essentials.
Right. Look for platforms that have essential compliance features built in. Things like automated data discovery, maybe monitoring capabilities, reporting tools that help you demonstrate compliance. Integration capabilities are also really critical. Can this new tool easily talk to the other software you already rely on? Does it have what's called an API, or maybe pre-built integrations with common tools like email marketing or accounting software? That saves a ton of manual work.
Good point, making sure it fits in.
Yeah. Mobile accessibility is another plus, especially if you have remote teams or volunteers who need access on the go. When you're considering pricing, look closely at the models. Is it based per user, or maybe on transaction volume or access to certain features? And remember that constantly switching platforms because you chose poorly up front can often be more costly in terms of time and disruption than choosing carefully at the start.
Think long-term.
Think long-term. Always check user ratings and reviews, paying attention to comments about the quality of customer support. Good support can be a lifesaver when you run into trouble.
Definitely.
And most importantly, confirm the platform actually adheres to the relevant standards you need, whether that's GDPR, HIPAA, PCI, whatever applies to your organization's data.
Mhm.
Features like fund accounting capabilities, robust audit trails so you can see who did what, when, and maybe risk management tools can be particularly valuable for nonprofits.
Right, things specific to nonprofit operations.
Exactly. So ultimately, the right choice really depends on your specific budget, your team size, your core use cases, what you really needed to do, and ideally how well the platform can scale with your organization as you hopefully grow in the future.
That's great advice. Okay, so to kind of recap our deep dive here, the core message seems to be that nonprofits absolutely can achieve robust data compliance and security even when budgets are tight. It's about leveraging these smart strategies, finding those affordable, often nonprofit specific tools. And it's crystal clear that having those incident response plans ready and doing that ongoing staff and volunteer training, those are just non negotiable, especially when you hear that stat again. Nearly half of all nonprofits, 49% specifically, have experienced data breaches.
Yeah, that 49% is sobering. And, looking at the bigger picture from our sources, it's really worth noting that a staggering 78% of nonprofits currently lack a formal data strategy altogether.
78%. Wow.
It highlights this profound challenge, doesn't it? But also, I think, an incredible opportunity. The true strength, the real opportunity for any nonprofit lies not just in adopting the right tools, but in genuinely fostering a culture of continuous awareness and adaptation around data. So the question to leave you with is this. How can you, regardless of your organization's size or budget, ensure that data compliance isn't just seen as another checkbox exercise, but becomes an ingrained part of your mission, an essential element in building and maintaining that unwavering trust with your donors, your volunteers, and the entire community you serve?
A really powerful thought to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today, and we really encourage you to take these insights and apply them within your own organization.